Hey guys, Senzu here, and welcome to another Shadowlands Alpha video. This time we're going to look at all of the Priest Covenant abilities. Now the Priest Covenant abilities are kind of support oriented, but there's still some damage components in there. Let's start with the Kyrian ability, Boon of the Ascendant. So the Boon of the Ascendant is a 3-minute cooldown, and for 10 seconds it changes your Mind Flay, if you're a Shadow Priest, to Ascendant Blast, and Boon of the Ascendant becomes Ascendant Nova, and it increases your movement speed by 50%. And after the duration is over, you'll do a eruption that explodes for damage to all enemies and healing for all allies within 15 yards. And it's increased by 3% for each stack of Boon of the Ascendant. So this is a pretty interesting ability. I've seen a lot of the Covenant abilities for classes seem, they're more than just a simple ability. Some of them are just like puts a dot on there or, just a cooldown, but this one is kind of unique. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like here. So you get this glow around you and you see the moves change. The AoE, the actual Covenant ability itself becomes this spammable AoE, and you see it explodes for a bunch of damage at the end there. So that's pretty good. The Mind Flay change does more damage, but Boon of the Ascendant can just be spammed. So depending on how many times you do that, you'll do a lot of damage at the end. So it's not too bad. Alright, so the Priest Night Fae ability is called Fae Blessings, and it is a very group-oriented, or at least, ally, having, grouping with somebody else, at least, type of ability. But it can be used on yourself. So don't worry to think that it's only for groups. But what it does is it will surround the target, it surrounds yourself with spirits, but your target will get benefits depending on which spell you cast for the next 10 spell casts. So if you use Shadow Mend or Mind Blast, it'll reduce your allies' damage taken by 10% for 15 seconds. And if you use Power Word Shield, it'll give your target 2% mana or 20% of their resource. And if you use Void Bolt, then it reduces the cooldowns of up to 5 allies' major abilities for 3 seconds. So to give you an example, like let's say you're a Disciplined Priest, right? Or even a Holy Priest. Well, I actually don't play Holy Priest, but for Disciplined Priests, at least, use Shadow Men, right? Shadow Men will reduce their damage taken. So that's a good, you're healing the tank, and they're going to take 10% less damage for 15 seconds. And you can use that a lot. So that's basically like, at least for 10 casts, you can keep their damage, like, they're basically taking a constant 10% less damage. And if you use a shield on them, as a disciplined priest, they're going to be getting 20% of the resource back. So let's say, again, use it on a tank or use it on a DPS that really needs their resource, like warriors, for instance. This definitely is very supportive ability. That's really nice. And then, of course, Void Bolt as a Shadow Priest, you're reducing cooldowns of up to 5 other people. So I imagine, like, this being used the right way can be a very nice cooldown. And again, it's for 10 casts, and it's only on a 1.5 minute cooldown. So I'm just going to, I already killed everything here. I'm going to go up this chain here so you can kind of see it. But I can actually use it right now. And since I have no other allies, when I use it, it's just going to be on me. So it lasts for a whole minute. So or 10 casts. So from the time you use it, once you use either 10 of the casts that's listed here or a minute passes, then it goes away. So I use Mind Blast, and I get reduced damage reduction for 15 seconds. And it just, restacks. I mean, it doesn't stack, but the duration is, reset. And then I can use Shadow Word or Power Word Shield and get my resource back. So as you see, I have, pretty decent amount of insanity. So now it's dropping. I use it again. See? And it does not work though, because like if you have Weakened Soul, you can't use it again. But now I can do it again. So you see, it's pretty nice. And again, it lasts for, You can just like spam Shadow Word Void if you want to keep the damage reduction up. But it's got a lot of potential, a lot of different things that can happen with it, and it only works for those three, well, technically four spells. So I can definitely see it being, you can benefit from all of the bonuses as a Shadow Priest, but I can definitely see as a healer it being useful as well. But even as a DPS, this is some pretty good utility. If if you don't end up using it on yourself, um, you can give the tank, for instance, extra damage reduction. So that's really nice for dungeons or raids because it's just an extra buff, especially if there's no other Night Fae priests in the group. So I definitely can see this one being used pretty frequently, but it kind of depends on everything else that's involved with the covenants at endgame. Alright, so for the priest Venthyr ability, it's called Mind Games, and it is a 40-yard range, 1.3 second cast on a 45-second cooldown. It deals damage and reverses their perception of reality. So what this means is for the next 5 seconds, the next a certain amount of damage that they deal will heal their target, and the next same amount of healing that they do will damage their target. And also, this reverse damage and healing generates up to 40 insanity. So this is a pretty decent, I think, ability for Shadow Priests, um, and definitely good for like group content or soloing and world content, because this will not only will it give you that extra insanity, but for at least for 5 seconds, a part of the damage that they do will actually heal you instead. So let's just go ahead and see what it looks like. Pretty cool cast, and they got that blood on them. And so, yeah. But yeah, it doesn't last that long though, as you can see. So, like, it is a decent ability, and it's on a 45-second cooldown. Not terrible, but I don't think it lasts long enough, to be honest. Like for the next 5 seconds, especially when they're a caster, like most of it's gone. So this is a cool looking ability, but I think it's just too short to really be that great. I think what it should be, instead of just like for the next 5 seconds, I think it should just be like a set amount of damage or healing. That way you're guaranteed to get the benefit, because if they don't get that damage off within the 5 seconds, that's it. So I like this ability. I mean, I like the thought of this ability, but it definitely needs some work in order for it to actually be good. Alright, finally we come to the Necrolord ability for priests on Holy Nova. This is a 1 minute cooldown multi-part ability that heals and does damage. So the first part will do an explosion that does damage and heals allies for a certain amount within 15 yards. Now the damage portion comes from Unholy Transfusion, which is a dot that does a decent amount of damage over 15 seconds, but also any ally who damages that target will be healed for a certain amount. So let's just go ahead and use that so you can see what it looks like. It's not that impressive, but you know, I do like the the color and the visual effect, but it's not that um, pronounced. Like it's just a quick little nova, sort of like the holy nova, but well, unholy. So it doesn't look that great, but in terms of effectiveness, especially for disciplined priests, I think it would be pretty good actually, because they can get the healing, just the base healing, on top of the extra damage will increase their healing even more. So those are all of the priest covenant abilities. As for my favorite, at least as a shadow priest, it's hard to say. I don't think none of them really are that impressive to me. Um, and that's the thing that I've been noticing when it comes to covenant abilities for classes that have not just multiple specs but like multiple roles. So like the druid, for instance, and like shaman, priest, they can be healers or DPS. So their covenant ability has to work for both. And for those classes, I've seen them be more support oriented. Even though there are defensive capabilities in there, they definitely have that extra effect. And I feel like that might actually lower the effectiveness. But again, we don't have any numbers or soul binds, so especially with choosing soul binds, you might be able to affect your abilities and stuff to be more like damage or healing oriented. But as for my favorite, it would probably be between Necrolord, the Unholy Nova, and then the Venthyr. No, not the Venthyr one. Sorry, the Night Fate one, the one where you get a bunch of insanity if you're a Shadow Priest, and gives you a lot of more resources. Overall, that one I would say I would probably pick as the ability as a Shadow Priest without any other context, just because it's very important keeping your resource up as a Shadow Priest. But if you liked the video, please give a like, subscribe for future videos. I'd like to know what you think about the Priest ones. I wasn't overall that impressed, but you know, some people might like them more than others. And as always, thanks for watching.